Welcome, everybody. Today we have a very special guest.
I knew early on that I wanted to make movies.
Such a difficult industry because there's a lot of luck involved.
I mean, look at American Werewolf in London, look at The Thing, look at The Fly. Look at these films that have really withstood the test of time.
I sculpted this Captain Kirk mask, and they didn't sell particularly well, but then John Carpenter came in, said, can you paint one white and spray paint his hair black?
I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and it scared the living shit out of me.
You're just racking up these people that you grew up watching. They're in your films. Is that surreal?
There were 35 directors there. If there had been a bomb dropped on that restaurant, never another good horror movie.
Bene's Bloody Bits.
I'm Jason Bene. He's film historian Malcolm Harvey. It's a Monday. Unfortunately, Mondays are never fun in general, but they are when we get to do these videos. This is our second in a series of Star Wars retrospectives on all the theatrically released films. Today, we're going to look at Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, released in 2002. I wasn't a big fan of Episode 1, so let's see. Malcolm definitely liked it more than I did, so let's see where we stand on 2. The story is 10 years later, and somehow Anakin and Padma look like they're the same age.
Yeah.
You know, like, went from a little boy, she's like a teenager, and now they look the same. Jake Lloyd gets replaced by the equally aggravating Hayden Christensen, who basically winds his way through the whole film.
At least they look similar. You know, since an older version, he looks a little bit like him.
Yeah, he looks like him. Basically, you got two, you know, like a true Star Wars films, you have a couple plots going at the same time. The big one in this film is, you know, Padma, you know, and Anakin are falling in love. You know, they're supposed to, you know, Jedi are supposed to be like priests, like monks. You can't be doing that. You got to focus on, you know, your craft. Then you got Obi-Wan out there, you know, dealing with this clone army and, you know, the separatists who are, you know, involved with it, which is Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee. We also run afoul of Jango Fett. And again, I don't know why we need to see all these little kids. We got a little Boba Fett.
Yep.
But I'm going to go to you first, man. What did you think when you first saw this film? Like your overall, you know, vibe with it?
Well, I felt like it should have been called Star Wars Stockholm Syndrome, because throughout the whole bloody movie, Annie is constantly pushing himself on her and going on about, oh, you know, I haven't stopped thinking about her every day since I last saw her 10 years ago, right? And he's constantly coming on to her and rubbing her back. And she's like, leave me alone. And then all this stuff happens where she almost gets killed. And he's there and he takes her back to Tatooine or wherever it is. And then he saves her life a couple of times. They go through stuff. It's Stockholm Syndrome. You know, so much so that when he kills a whole area of innocent kids, she hugs him and tells him, I love you. Who the hell let somebody get away with that? You know?
So in a way, she's an enabler, because the scene you're talking about is when Anakin goes looking for his mom. The Sand People have captured her. You know, she dies in his arms, and you don't see it, but we know because he tells her, you know, he basically slaughters all the men, women, and children. Felt responsible for it.
I feel like she was an enabler, but after this, she was an enabler.
Thank you, Alex. I am a big Star Wars fan, but thank you for joining. I'm a big Star Wars fan, but not a big fan of these prequels. How could George Lucas get it wrong again with the casting of Anakin? Because the whole movie, he sounds like a whiny, entitled, like a high school quarterback, right? He's entitled. He's got everything. He gets what he wants. And it's not good casting, because the movie really surrounds about us caring about him and what happens to him and him eventually becoming Darth Vader.
The other thing,
you don't care.
The other thing what I don't understand, she tells Anakin, she says, no, but then she wears all these sexy outfits around him. Does her hair, wears like this bondage outfit after dinner. I mean, what the hell?
Well, you had said in Phantom Menace you didn't like how you felt like Anakin got groomed, because he was like a little kid. This
But
film, you're right, because
like it was
she's
grown.
teasing, like, look, she has the right to wear what she wants, but she's definitely sending mixed signals when this guy's like, I got, hard on for you. And she's wearing every outfit and hairdo is kind of like, let's go to the bedroom,
Yeah. And then what about these Jedis, right? That look like they're dildos and vibrators sitting in the bloody thing. There's one, right, who's got a head like this, but looks like something you'd sit on. Then there's one with like a hook one like this. It's like, what's going on? I just stopped myself and called myself Malcolm Moore's Attack of the Sex Toys.
I mean, the big thing about this film is we need to care about Anakin. And through 2 films, I can't stand the dude. And I can't wait for him to come, for him to finally fight Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan to kick his ass, because he's defiant at every turn. He's not a likable character. He wasn't likable. He was obnoxious in Phantom Menace. He's more obnoxious now because he just walks around like his shit don't stink. And
he just looks like he's got wind.
Is responsible for casting these films. He's the writer. He's the director. And again, he gets it wrong. And thank God, on the other end, we do have a somewhat exciting, storyline.
The biggest mistake in this movie is barely any Jar Jar Binks.
True. There goes the chance of this chat being monetized. That's okay. I'm not being monetized anytime soon.
I mean, where's Jar Jar Binks? He's in it for like a few seconds.
That is the blessing of the film, is Lucas put him on the sidelines. Thank God he's hardly in the film. The first half of the film, because it's like a 2-hour and 20-minute film, the whole love story thing is like a bad soap opera. I could imagine somebody we know very well would like it because it comes off like a bad soap opera. But I did like the clone army, the Jango Fett, not so much the Boba, but the Jango and how their fight together out in the rain. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because Boba Fett's his little clone, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of hard to believe, that we're supposed to think that every single stormtrooper is that one guy, right?
Especially considering they keep dying so easily.
I just think that, again, Lucas, just like Phantom Menace, he really didn't go back and watch the films, and he's just kind of making stuff up as he goes along. And it's not the end of the world, though, because we don't know what they look like underneath. But you figure, like, you're recruiting people like an army. You're not cloning one guy into becoming all these clone troopers and then eventually become stormtroopers.
You got to remember, he's supposed to be the ultimate bounty hunter. So they're supposed to be the ultimate warriors when they're thinking, but instead, they're useless.
And I know that, like, the dark side of the Force is supposed to cloud stuff, but it's kind of obvious that Palpatine, like, he's really standing right in front of Mace Windu and Yoda, like a council meeting. They have no clue what's going on. And of course, as the viewers, we know, but you figure, like, they're kind of blind to this guy is playing both sides of the fence, and he's
what I like about this movie is there's a whole load of scenes with Yoda where he looks like an old man who's about to poo himself when he figures stuff out. So he's constantly like, and you're like, he's feeling the dark force. He sees what Anakin's doing, and out comes a golden egg. That's what you feel like is happening.
Right, yeah. Dark side of the Force, clouding things is one thing, but Anakin going off and doing stuff he's not supposed to is kind of obvious. And of course, Obi-Wan knows kind of that he's a hothead, and but so the first half of the film, again, some of the weaknesses from the prior entry, really bad CGI, really
the CGI's horrendous,
not looking good. Again, it's just an expensive film, but it doesn't look it. For me, the saving grace of the film is the casting of Christopher Lee. Count Dooku, obviously a reference to Count Dracula. Even his cape, he looks like Dracula. Even his lightsaber's kind of bent a little bit. It's got its own little
is it bent to the left or to the right?
To the left. But yeah, I think he's the one thing that keeps me interested, because the first half of the film, other than
it feels like two different films. Once he turns up, it feels like it's got more serious, and it feels like the better half of like a two-parter. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, so what are your thoughts on the when we finally get to like the arena scene, which kind of reminds me of John Carter of Mars with the way it
They
looked.
stole. I feel like that first beating of the fight, they stole that from Coneheads. The
From
whole
Coneheads?
scene, there's a lot of Coneheads references in it in the fight they have at the end of the film.
Well, that whole arena scene is kind of cool because you get, all out Jedi attack but somehow it's exciting yet not exciting. Does that make sense? It's an action scene, but there's no heart behind it. I mean, I do enjoy the fact that it's a little bit more violent. Jango Fett gets his head cut off by Mace Windu, which is pretty damn cool. I do like that, Natalie Portman.
Except there was no mother father at all in this movie.
I mean, of course, I like how, a la, Princess Leia with a, skimpy outfit, the chain rips, Padme's, outfit, and all you get is like her waist and her stomach, and, adding a little sex appeal to an otherwise fairly boring film at this point.
So this film has a connection to the Insidious franchise. Did you know that?
I did and didn't. When I first saw the film, it had been years, but I realized that was Rose Byrne.
Yep, she's in it.
She was in the background, like with
yeah, she was like the Keira Knightley character in this one, but obviously a different character. But she was like the Keira Knightley one.
Yeah, because when I first saw the film, that was a long time ago, 22 years ago. She was probably a nobody. It was probably one of her first films, but now she's a pretty big actress. And I did notice it, but only on recently watching it. I hadn't watched the film in many years because, to be honest with you, it was a painful experience. When I saw it in the theaters, that was 2002. That was my ex-girlfriend, not who I'm with now, who I'm married to. Well, here's the interesting thing. So we had seen the movie. I wasn't a big fan, but I was in her kitchen looking through the cabinets, right, looking for food or something. And lo and behold, I stumble upon a book. The book was her diary. Why don't you put that in the nightstand? I don't know. So you
read her diary like an evil son of a gun.
I opened it up because I was like, I didn't know what it was at first, because this is a kitchen cabinet. You're supposed to put food in there, not a book. There was no key, and I was like, and I opened it, and a lot of it was kind of like recapping things that we had done, and one of them was to see Attack of the Clones, and she says, I forget the exact quote, as we left the theaters, I could see the disappointment on his face, knowing she knew I just was very disappointed in the film. And watching again recently, nothing has changed. What I liked is the same, which wasn't a lot.
Hold on. I thought it was good. I think I was going to say something profound. Like when I read it, she saw the disappointment on my face, so she thought I was a Muppet or something. Not just, there was nothing. I mean, what?
Insidious franchise is important to cinema more than Star Wars, and that's the facts.
Until Red Door, yeah.
Alex, Malcolm does not like the Insidious films, so
I don't.
He's not going to agree with you there. But
I think
when did you first see Attack of the Clones? On home video?
I first saw Attack of the Clones probably came out 2002, right?
Yeah.
So probably 2004, because I didn't see it in the cinema. So I probably saw it on like late VHS.
So we're about 3/4 of the way through the film. Are you liking this arena scene, which seems to be like,
no,
okay.
The arena scene looks awful, because when you watch the CGI on 4K on a good TV, the CGI looks horrendous. But I remember watching on VHS, and I never noticed that, because obviously it didn't have the format, didn't change, all the pattern and stuff. So originally I did like it a little bit, but now I really, really don't like CGI, especially when Christopher Lee's riding his little hover bike and he's like going through the end. It's like watching an episode of Max Steel. I don't know if you've seen Max Steel, but it's got that kind of CGI look to it. It's awful.
I want to say this is the first Star Wars film shot digitally, so I'm sure Lucas was, thinking he was going to have fun with this. But you're right. I watched it on Disney Plus. I don't believe it was 4K, but it hasn't aged well. I mean, even for a movie that's, CGI had come a long way by 2002. It doesn't look good. The movie looks bad. And again,
it's too CGI heavy. That's the problem.
George Lucas fell in love, and he wasn't going to change his mind. If you thought, from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones, he was going to go back to a little bit more of a retro look, he doubled and tripled down on no. I love CGI. You're not going to get a lot of puppet work. Yoda's going to be computer generated. I'm going to go forward with this, whether you like it or not. I still don't believe he wanted to direct this film. I think he wanted to do the episode 1 and pass off 2 and 3 to somebody else. But the hate for Phantom Menace was so heavy. Yeah. He's going to come in. And I think Attack is slightly better, but I know a lot of Star Wars fans that feel like it's worse than Attack of the Clones. I'm sorry, it's worse than Phantom Menace. Do you think it's worse?
I don't think it's worse. I think, don't get me wrong, I think Phantom Menace is better, like better setup. But this film is like more actiony in my view, and there's a lot more going on. Like Obi-Wan doing all this adventuring without him, and and I think when you get to the second half, it gets more interesting. I think if it wasn't so CGI heavy, it won't get so tedious and boring at times.
Lucas was too reliant on technology that hadn't matured enough. Horrible trilogy. Here's the funny thing is, on the comments on the first video we did on Phantom Menace, actually almost every person was sticking up for the film, which kind of surprised me. There wasn't. This film.
My followers will stand by my opinion.
I think. Okay, let me ask you this: who's a better villain, Darth Maul or Count Dooku?
Darth Maul.
Because he's acrobatic, or he's got more.
He's got a beautiful face, and he's not an old man. He's not an old man he looks like he's sitting back in the chair on the way back. Come on, Darth Maul has a lot more presence because he doesn't even have to say anything, and he doesn't feel like he's an underling, even though he is.
He likes Insidious 1, 2 it's passable. The rest I do not care for. I actually disagree. I like Count Dooku more. Yes, he's not jumping around like he's on a trampoline and doing all this acrobatic stuff, but we get to hear him speak. We get to hear what he's about. And when we get to the end of the film where Anakin and Obi-Wan take him on, who cares how old he is? He's more powerful than Darth Maul. Darth Maul is not like
it's not about the power.
Lightning out of
it's about the screen presence without saying a word.
Right, but there's also Count Dooku is so strong, he smokes Anakin and Obi-Wan at the same time. He can't
smoke a little green frog, can he?
Well, no, he takes them out. Anakin comes running at him, being the rebel that he is, can't wait. He gets hit with lightning, thrown up against the wall. Then, Obi-Wan comes out and he's like, surely you can do better, like he's like, come on, this is the best that you got.
And he chops off Anakin's hand.
He doesn't take long to, pretty much he's ready to kill both of them. And then little Yoda shows up and they kind of have a one-on-one with their powers, and they're kind of on even terms because, Count Dooku hits him with lightning and he bounces it off and then he absorbs it. And then Dooku brings the house down. Literally, the wall comes down and, Yoda's able to push it to the side. And then the lightsaber duel doesn't work as well because Christopher Lee's so tall, huge dude. And then Yoda's this little, like a frog.
You remember Yoda fights Palpatine as well at some point, and Palpatine's taller than him, but they have that massive jumping section, and that goes well.
Right, Revenge of the Sith, but I think they're helped out by they're in the Senate chambers, right? And
yeah, they are, yeah.
But again, I think one thing that's obvious from the Star Wars series, good eventually beats evil, but from the Jedi point of view, the Sith are stronger. They seem to always win the battles. Like as far as there is more power to be had in the dark side, but it doesn't make you, in the end, it usually is your downfall. But I think in a lightsaber duel or whatever, it seems like the Jedi always get their asses kicked almost every single time. Like, have you ever seen
Dooku didn't kill the Jedi though, did he?
Right,
Darth Maul did.
But he fought 3 people. Anakin,
not at the same time.
Yoda,
not at the same time he didn't.
Back. to back.
No,
And has
not
there
the
ever
same
been a
time.
lightsaber duel in any of the Star Wars films where 2 Sith battle 1 Jedi? It's always the other way around. It's always like either one-on-one.
I don't even count Kylo Ren because he's just a massive crybaby through that whole series. I mean, in the latest three, all he does is cries about Darth Vader and wanting him and all this. Awful.
I have a Darth Maul backpack. LOL.
Hey, Grace. There was no Count Dooku ones, was there?
I disagree. I think that I like Darth Maul. Don't get me wrong, but
You only like him because he continued on and lived.
well, hey, give me Christopher Lee. That is the one thing I do like that George Lucas did. You know, he kind of remembered the horror film icon. So, you know, Peter Cushing got cast in A New Hope. Christopher Lee's in Attack of the Clones. Briefly in Revenge of the Sith. We know what happens there. We'll go over that the next time we do one of these videos. But so overall, what are your thoughts on Attack of the Clones as a movie? Do you want to ever watch it again? Where does it stand in the
Well,
nine,
I've watched it
film?
5 times in my life, and it's always been one, but I've sat there going, why am I watching this again? Do I like the characters? Yeah, I like some of the characters. Count Dooku's good. It's great to see Christopher Lee. It's great to see people that are bigger now than they were then. I like it, but I don't think I think it's an entertaining film, but I think the CGI just wrecks it, and I feel like as time goes by, it makes it more forgettable.
Right.
And ruins it. And, you know, Natalie Portman not having a full-on nude scene in it doesn't help.
Darth Maul had a cameo in Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, one of the orcs. If you're talking about Ray Park, also, he was pretty big at the time. He was Darth Maul, but he also played in the X-Men movie. What was the guy that was kind of like a frog? He was.
I know.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. The one that keeps jumping everywhere.
Right. That was Ray Park, you know, and I think he was also in Sleepy Hollow in the stunt scenes with the Headless Horseman. That was Ray Park. So he was really huge. I know he still does the convention scene. Star Wars directed by Tinto Brass. Now we're talking. I guess the
look up the closest one is done by Axel Braun.
Oh, okay. Is there like a spoof? Like a satire?
Yeah, there's multiple of them. And Count Dooku gets with Padme in one. Yeah.
Something I forgot about. Did you find it like painful to watch going back to the bad humor, like with C-3PO in the arena scene where his head gets detached and it ends up on top of a droid and he's is that just
like, sorry, I don't mean to kill you. I'm sorry, no. Yeah, that was pretty painful.
And then R2D2, you know, drags his head and C-3PO is like, what a drag. Isn't that just carryover from some really bad humor from episode 1?
The sad part as well is that they leave him behind. You know, they leave him behind. Do you know they're the only characters in all the movies?
Okay, so we're finishing up on 2. Next month, we're going to tackle Revenge of the Sith. But looking ahead, do you feel like the Clone Wars itself could have been an entire movie? I feel like what Lucas did in all 3 prequels, he smashed so much into the storyline. He never really allowed a lot of things to develop. Like, I'll talk about this more like in Revenge of the Sith, but I feel like Order 66, Let's Kill Off All the Jedi, could have been its own film. The Clone Wars could have been its own film. I think episode 1, you could throw in the dumpster and start with episode 2 being episode 1 and then spreading out. Like, I feel like he crammed way too much in, you know.
I think as well, it's not just that. I think the problem with it is that, you know, so much goes on in this movie and so much goes on in the other one. But I think most of these films don't really have real endings either. Like, this film kind of ends on that cliffhanger, you know, because Count Dooku goes off with his sex robot and, you know, while rocking in a rocking chair and goes and sees his boyfriend and, you know, they get married with his metal arm, you know, and it just ends. And you're like, but there is no happy ending because it's still out there. Do you know what I mean? So,
but every Star Wars film has kind of ended that way with an open ending, unless you're talking about Return of the Jedi. Obviously, we get eventually the Force Awakens, but
Yeah.
you know, the first and the middle films always seem to like be a cliffhanger. But
The other thing
yeah,
I
man,
don't get, the other thing I don't
what
get to finish off on my fault. Sorry to butt in here. I don't mean to, but I just want to say, the thing that get me as well with Anakin is throughout the whole movie, he looks psychotic. Like he has these massive fits, and he starts screaming at times, and I just don't get how Padme finds him to be like this charming, really amazing guy, when basically he says to her, you know, I've wanted you from day one. And then when she goes into when they're going into the arena, she goes, I've always loved you. And you're like, see, you loved him since he was a kid.
and he told you he killed children and women. So I mean, if eventually he's going to kill you, which is absolutely true. We'll talk about that more.
If I was in that movie back then, I'd be killing her and all, not with my hands though, something else. Well, hey.
Okay, so out of 10 lightsabers, I'm going to give this one 4 lightsabers. So it is a step up for me from episode 1, but it's still not a very good film. It's not memorable. Hey, everybody has the right to their opinion, but the weakness of this prequel trilogy continue. Lucas is just diluted with the effects are more important in the storyline and the acting. I'm not expecting Shakespeare, but my God, when you can make people like Samuel L. Jackson seem like an average actor, Ewan McGregor, and then Hayden Christensen, I've seen him in other stuff, and he just is not a good actor at all. I think he had a good look. He kind of had like what I'm sure Lucas was going for, like a James Dean look, like a clean cut, pretty boy, but he's just a whiny little bitch through the whole film. He really is. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 lightsabers.
I'm gonna give it 2 lightsabers out of 10.
Okay, so you think it's worse than Phantom Menace?
Yeah, I think it's a lot worse when it comes to the CGI. I think they should have brought Jake Lloyd back again. And had him be, I mean, he would have been what, 14? Yeah, bring him back instead.
Yeah, I don't have good memories. Like going back and watching this was like, it just brought back memories. I'm like, I'm trying to think. I'm older. I have a different perspective. Maybe it'll change. It does happen, like it did with Phantasm 5 Ravager. This movie, if anything, I think it might be worse because I was in denial at this time because, in my opinion, there's no such thing. There can't be a bad Star Wars film, right? And then Phantom Menace changed my mind on that. It's obvious that Lucas is, steering straight ahead. He's not looking back. He's not a fan of the original trilogy. That's why he went back and tinkered with it, with the special editions. It is what it is. I know a lot of people hate the quote unquote Disney Star Wars films. I actually enjoy most of those, but we'll get to those at a later time. I'm going to stick to my 4 lightsaber review of Attack of the Clones. You're giving it 2 lightsabers, which is really bad because it's almost giving it a 0, pretty much saying it's a waste of time.
The best one in the franchise is Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, so Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars Episode 3. We will do that sometime in October. I think it fits Halloween because it is actually probably the most violent. The first PG-13 of the series. I don't know if that makes it a good film. I'll kind of leave that till we talk about it next time.
I love that film.
We'll be back next Monday to do a retrospective, but we're going to go down the comedy route. The 1987 classic Summer School with Mark Harmon, Kirstie Alley, and a bunch of what I like is the high school students, all the actors all had like a genre resume either leading into it or after it. Having looked at their careers, I'm like, oh, they were in that horror film or that horror film. Is it a comedy horror? No, I just watched it 2 days ago. It's a comedy, but at the same time, it's a love letter to horror fandom. But I don't think it's a horror comedy at all, even though, without saying too much, there's some stuff that's probably gorier than straight horror films, which was kind of awesome. But I don't want to say too much and want to
And
save that
then-
excitement for next week.
And then after next week, we're going to do All Ladies Do It by Tinto Brass. So I can talk about the sex scenes.
Well, yeah, one day if my channel gets big enough, I can go to Patreon. I don't feel like I want to sidestep that too much, but I always want to, if you guys could like and share and subscribe to our channel, and thank you for watching, of course. And yeah, so Attack of the Clones, it's
Bad.
not the best.
Do Paprika instead.
Do Paprika instead. Hey, I would love to do Paprika. If we're talking about that actress, what was her name? She was in the Lamberto Bava film that I want from Severin. Beautiful woman. I think she was married to Klaus Kinski for a while.
Oh, are
as
you
well.
talking about that?
Deborah
the TV one?
Caprilogio. Yeah, beautiful girl, full figured. I'm going to get distracted and want to talk about her for 30 minutes, but yeah, Deborah Caprilogio, thick, full figured, curvy. She was a brick house, and maybe one day we will do some Tinto Brass, but
We'll do all of them.
no, but that is actually a very good.
We'll do all of them while sitting in vests.
I know Cult Epics has been putting out a lot of Tinto Brass on 4K. I don't.
Oh
think
yeah, they're releasing Candy. Is it Candy, the latest one? Oh, Darth Sidious, you missed
I'm
it.
late. Okay, Darth Sidious. I will recap. I thought that Attack of the Clones was 4 stars. Malcolm gave 4 lightsabers. Malcolm gave it only 2 lightsabers. He did not like
Because of the bad
Count
CGI.
Dooku. He missed Darth Maul. Everyone's heart rate
I
just
do
doubled.
like Count Dooku. I just don't think he's as good as Darth Maul.
No, Sidious. He says his name should have been Count Dookie.
Oh,
That's how much he disliked that character.
I never said that.
No, but we will be back next month for Revenge of the Sith. We will be back next Monday for Summer School, which is one of my favorites. I don't know if Malcolm likes it, but we will find out. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by.
The week after that is remakes, right?
I haven't decided yet. We might do the remakes that are better than the originals. We might do, like we did Anthony Hickox. Maybe it's time to look at Jeff Burr.
Okay, whatever. I can do that.
We'll figure it out.
I've got a few of his movies recently, so that's quite good.
We will talk about it more backstage, but thank you, everybody, for watching. I appreciate your commenting and your time, and thank you guys for making this channel fun. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care,
guys.
Bye-bye.